And DJ, what is the second trait of an entrepreneurial mindset?
Connecting different types of information to create new ideas and ways of doing things.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean exactly?
Sure. So let's say that you're in a new situation. You don't really know what you're doing, right? You really just have two options. You can say to yourself, I don't know what I'm doing, and freeze, and somebody's going to have to help me. Or you can help yourself by adopting an entrepreneurial mindset, which is to say, going back through your prior experiences, what you've learned, and seeing if you can draw any important lessons from your prior experiences and apply them to this new context so that you can figure it out yourself.
And Motown, do you have any experience needing to make connections in the way that DJ was just describing?
Yes, and I like to call them landscape fundamentals. So when I was a preteen, my cousin and I developed a business so we can save up money and buy our video games. The business was landscaping, and within the process of developing this business, we developed the 3 Ps. So the first one is preparation. So we would do our research and find out how much other people were charging, and then we would undercut them so we could get a customer base. And then following that, we would upgrade our presentation. Presentation meaning our flyers. I had to learn Photoshop, and we would cut the flyers ourselves. And we would even put on shirts and ties when we went door to door to pass out these flyers, and people were often impressed. And my cousin and I lastly made sure that we had the passion, because if we were going to do this, there was no point in doing this without any passion. So we put all our heart into it. And later on in life, in high school, I started to realize if I apply the 3 Ps into my schoolwork, then my grades improve. I started to see my math grades improve, and social studies and everything. So that's just basically, how I started to see the relation between the two.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
What a natural. Now, DJ, what would you suggest for someone who needs help learning to make connections in the way that Motown did?
Well, I got to say, Motown's example is really perfect. What he did, and by the way, I might steal the 3 Ps myself at some point. What he did is he had a big enough perspective to see that two seemingly unrelated things were actually related. What do landscaping and school have to do with each other, right? Well, you ask yourself that question if you're maybe a little bit too close. But if you pan out, if you get a little bit of perspective, then you can start to make really interesting connections, exactly as Motown did. And that's a very valuable thing to do.
First, pick a job you're familiar with. Now, think about a specific task someone who has that job needs to do. For example, you could pick a baker making a very elaborate wedding cake, or a teacher chaperoning a class trip to a museum. Write down the job and the task, then partner up and share the jobs and tasks you've written. They're probably very different, but they might have some similarities too. Work together with your partner to brainstorm what your two situations could have in common.